Hey, thanks for joining. My name is Evelio. I'm a packaging designer for the last 15 years, collaborating with brands in fashion, cosmetics, wine, spirits, hospitality, most recently working with a lot of tech and some food packaging. As packaging designers, we've all seen these unboxing videos. We talk to brands about creating packaging that's social, that can be shareable. What brands fail to realize is it's less about the graphics and more about the user experience. Now, what is that user experience? That's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to go through an unboxing. We're going to understand the value of each step, as well as the pros and cons of each, and what happens to all that packaging when you're done. So the first thing you notice with this pack is the shape. The fact that it's round. It's a little different. You typically expect something that's square, angular, so that's a plus. From the consumer standpoint, anything that separates you from the competition is going to become a memorable aspect. Where it doesn't serve you is when the pack is so complex that you lose sight of the consumer experience. So taking a look at this product, one of the things you'll notice is the combination of materials. You've got a poly disc, which has the branding on it. It's got Future Lab, Sony. Just tells you a little bit about what the product is. So that's your introduction to it. Then once you remove that component, you're left with this poly faux felt. Say that 10 times fast, right? It's a poly film. It's a spun material. It's compressed, and it feels like felt, but truly it's just a poly material. So from the front, you'll see the Sony, the Future Lab, you'll see the N logo in there, and then really here's kind of where the intrigue stops from an unboxing perspective. You've got this round disc, you've removed this piece, you haven't gotten anywhere closer to the product other than you've removed some of the branding. And now there's no entry point. This pack doesn't provide a guided unboxing process, right? Typically a consumer is going to want to know how to get in, even if it's a small cue, if there's a ribbon pull, a die cut, a finger notch, something that you can put your finger into and you know that you've got to lift or push. This is just a round disc with a round disc cut out in the middle. Without a clear entry point, you've got to guess, right? I've got two discs here. I'm going to pull on the first one and see what happens. This came off into my hand, great. From a presentation standpoint, this is nice, but if we're just talking about the experience, when you pull this open and it jerks open, it's not the smoothest presentation, especially for a tech product where things have to be seamless. That was not a seamless experience. You can pull out the headset, removal's nice, presentation's nice, you've got all these laser cuts. You can tell there's laser cuts because all along these edges, you'll see little brown sections. Unfortunately, when you're using a poly material, even when you're using a fiber base like a paper material, and you're laser cutting, you're gonna get some burning. Now, I've pulled out the product, so what can be left? There's the center, that doesn't come out, but I could potentially tear it if I pull a little too hard. These are just adhered together slightly. There's another disc here, same process, jerk that open. Now I've got additional components here. This was upside down. I'm sure from a fulfillment standpoint, when you're packing these out, you don't necessarily know which way things go. So it's your setup information, how to do that. Then inside you've got your operating instructions and additional components. Focusing on the unboxing shows you that there's a lot of opportunity to create a memorable experience for the user. Things that are memorable here is the fact that you don't know where to begin. There's a lot of components. You may have opened the wrong disc at the wrong time, revealing the bottom piece, not necessarily the hero product. You've got to take control as a packaging designer of what that consumer is going to see first, second, and third, and carry along the messaging throughout that process. The way that I had to fish my fingers into these cracks in order to separate the components wasn't a good feeling. It doesn't feel high tech. It doesn't feel futuristic. It really feels like it wasn't thought through from a user's perspective. From a design perspective, aesthetically, it's beautiful. The colors are amazing. The way this product nests in here is amazing. The number of layers and the way that this packs out, definitely unique. But there's a balance between unique and a memorable experience. When you consider the pack to product ratio that we've got here, it's a little bit out of whack. There's a little bit too much packaging happening here. For the product that you've purchased. As a designer, when you're creating packaging, you want to focus on that user experience. Yes, there's opportunity to do the branding, but without a structured, mapped unboxing, you're not going to know where to place branding, messaging, and support information. So something like this, you want to make sure that you're creating something that guides the user. But seeing this for the first time, you want the customer to know what this is for. Is it just branding? Is it attached a different way? Is it telling me something about the product? This doesn't tell me anything that this doesn't tell me. So the only purpose here is for the tactile quality. So maybe considering placing this information here only and then having this be secondary information that's different. Maybe this should have a die cut to let me know where my fingers go to separate it, whether it happens back here or over here. As a designer, you've got to create that mapped out experience and determine where it's best for the user, depending on who that consumer is, where their hands are going to go. The fact that this is a tech product, it's a tech product for adults, so you've got adult sized hands, you've got to figure out where those fingers go. This is not enough of a guided experience to let you know, yes, top layer, second layer, this is your first experience, this is your first interaction with the pack, but where are you putting those fingers, right? So what we want to take away from this pack is that shape can be a great beginning to an unboxing experience. The tactile contrast between this material and this material definitely help create that secondary step. One is visual, second is tactile, but then from there, the fact that this doesn't guide you to get to the product can be an issue. And that issue is that consumers might open this in the improper order. They might see send off messaging first and then see the welcoming messaging. So they might see the secondary product before they see the hero product. So as a designer, you've got to take control of that order of operation and let them know where to start, what happens next, what follows up after that. By not investing the time in cueing the consumer into the guided user experience, into how you place your fingers, where you remove it, giving them these cues that indicate first, second, third position, all the time that went into designing this beautiful pack, it goes to waste. So from a user experience perspective, what I would have loved to see in this pack would be subtle cues that guide the user through the entire process. Where they place their hands, how they separate the item, not having quite as much friction as what we have here. This lid doesn't come off when I shake it. Consider that Apple iPhone box when you compare it to this. When you grab that lid on the iPhone box and you lift it, the weight of the product, the appropriate amount of vacuum and air transfer that happens between the base and the lid allow that base to slide out within 3 to 4 seconds. And that's what most brands are looking for, is that smooth transition between close, open, and presentation. So the next time you design packaging, make sure that you look at your demographic. Pick somebody from the high end of the spectrum and then somebody from the low end of the spectrum. On the high end, I typically use my parents. What I do is I'll hand off a rough prototype to them, watch them engage with it, see how they unbox it, see if they're confused by any of the elements throughout the process. Can they figure out how to get from point A to point B? What questions do they have? What confuses them? Or what areas of it don't make sense for them? As well, being an older demographic, are they having a difficult time putting their hands into certain places to remove certain components? So on the younger end of the spectrum, you might have somebody that's a little bit more versed in unboxing, and they might actually rush through it. So are they rushing through? Are they missing key marketing messaging? Are they missing key instructions? Is your packaging too cumbersome for them, where they're actually just tearing things out just to get into the product? Both looking at the older and the younger side of that demographic spectrum, what it allows you to do is make sure that you're designing for both, and you want to meet in the middle. Or if you're doing something a little bit more complicated, you want to make sure that it guides that older user, and vice versa. If you're making something a little bit more simple for the older user, make sure that there's enough engaging components for that younger viewer. Hope that watching the unboxing of Sony's Future Lab headset has allowed you to understand the value of incorporating user experience into packaging design. Once again, my name is Evelio Mattos, packaging designer. If you'd like to see more videos of product getting unboxed from a packaging design perspective, please subscribe below. I'll talk to you soon.